Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Joy Show. And joy is an acronym for just one you, each one of us on an individual journey. And here we celebrate individuality, creativity, diversity, inclusivity, all of that. So I want to begin with our land acknowledgement. We work, live, and play on the historical and traditional territory of many First Nations. And as we gather on Turtle Island, we as settlers are grateful for the opportunity to meet here. And we thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years, including the Métis, Inuit, and all other Indigenous people. Also acknowledging that as we continue to grow and expand on these lands, there is still unresolved and dangerous inequality and discrimination toward our BIPOC and 2S LGBTQI plus family. And by making these acknowledgments, we strive to be allies and take an active part in reconciliation. We recognize our oneness, we realize our history, and we choose to create a new reality. We are one. Well, my guest today is a remarkable individual that I have the distinct pleasure of working with on the board of directors for the Toronto People with AIDS Foundation. His name is Albert Williams. He is a Black queer immigrant with a passion for social justice. And today, being World AIDS Day, this is a perfect day to have this kind of conversation. He's a trained teacher with a BA in English and an associate degree in journalism. And as a freelance journalist, he helps to give voices to the marginalized and issues the mainstream media have moved on from. And it seems like AIDS is one of those. Anyway, welcome, Albert Williams.
Hey!
I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad you're here.
My honor, Rev. Really, really my
Oh,
honor.
yeah, it's so great to have you. And, today is World AIDS Day, and I know you are a big time social justice advocate. And the work that we're doing on the Toronto People with AIDS Foundation, of course, is about raising awareness and helping people through their challenges. So I just want to start by how did you get this coming from Jamaica, immigrating to Canada, and all the work you're doing here? Tell me a little bit about your journey to.
Right. Oh, wow.
It's a short story, right? No.
Right. All right. Yeah, we can stop. We can get there. We can make it short. Grew up as the only boy in a family of uh five. My sisters, who I love dearly. My parents, who are no longer together, but still very much involved in my life.
Yeah.
Moving to Canada was a decision I made based on certain feelings I was having about Jamaica, questioning, not feeling safe, not necessarily from physical harm, but just not feeling safe in terms of exploring my thoughts, in terms of exploring my love. And so I said, you know what, I need to get out of here. I need to find a space that would be welcoming and celebrating of every aspect of me. So here I am. I'm grateful to
Well,
be here on this land.
I'm grateful that you're here on this land as well. It has been my distinct pleasure to get to know you and spend time with you. And probably the thing I love most about you is that remarkable smile of yours, which always seems to be on your face. And so I'm really grateful for that. Now, I know in Jamaica, there's still a lot of real injustice when it comes to LGBTQ people and trans people. And there's some big challenges there still.
Definitely. Oh, definitely. While in Jamaica, one of the things which I probably should have mentioned too is that I grew up in church. My parents are pretty prominent, are still prominent in church, and so
Yeah.
one of the things I was really afraid to put my face forward, because there's so much that could happen. So I used to work in the background. I would write, I would edit, I would create campaigns, help to create campaigns, even that would kind of push society towards being more inclusive. You
Yes.
know, I realized that my work I wasn't able to do as much as I wanted to. I was really doing a lot, but I wanted to do more. I saw the sacrifices of some of the people, like I can perfect calling them like Ian McKnight, like Garrett, stuff that Garrett was doing in Jamaica. There are people like Ivan Cruikshank, who is in Jamaica, who was very much in the camera, speaking to the people, being identified with the community. And I felt like they were carrying a burden that was a lot, and more people were needed.
Yeah.
Um, but at the same time, I was still afraid to do it in Jamaica.
Yeah. Oh,
so so
of course. Yeah.
so when I
It's,
migrated, I became very, very vocal on social media. It's almost like, those little dogs who are have this bravado when they're behind a fence. But as soon as you remove that fence, they're like, just walk away. So when I moved here, when I moved here, I became very vocal on social media. I started putting my face forward. Of course, people reach out. Albert, my sister told me people reach out to them asking, "It's Albert gay? What is this about? Why is Albert doing this type of thing?"
yeah.
But you know what? I was safe, so I did not care.
Good for you. There has to be that voice that speaks to the injustice. Like, all of us, I was watching the show We're Here last night, and one of the things that Bob the drag queen said was every single, and I think it's something his mom told him, is every single person is created by divine design,
Mm,
by the creator. So
mhm.
how can we call it bad, wrong?
Thank you.
Um, and even I was watching an interview today of a queer Muslim who met a queer or lesbian minister, and the conversation they had, and one of the things the minister, it was Reverend Dina from MCC Toronto, and she talked about the fact that there is there is this disparity between what the Bible actually says
Mm,
and how some people are interpreting it from that
mhm.
religious point of view.
Right,
And
right.
I think religion sometimes is causing harm by interpreting it from a place of separation rather than inclusion. Because
Right,
I see God as love,
right,
period.
right, right. I love it. All inclusive, right?
All
I
inclusive, all accepting.
right. And the crazy thing too is that you find that the more religious a person is, and is the more violent they are towards
Less tolerant. Yeah.
right, I love let's tolerant of people. One of the things that I often challenge, um, especially fundamental Christians with, is if your God is all powerful, all knowing, there is nothing within me that was created by
Mhm.
him that was not created by him. Right. so
Exactly.
so 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 therefore he knew that this was me. I didn't ask for any of this, not at all. At no point did I
Yeah.
order this on a menu, right?
What? It wasn't a choice? You didn't decide?
Right, woke up one morning, you know what, I'm gonna try this, I'm gonna see how this works out. Right.
Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna give this a shot. I mean,
I'm gonna
people are gonna hate me for it, but it sounds like a good idea.
right, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
And so I have to then say this was the work of God, right? And
exactly.
also, if you do believe that I am sinning against God, then allow God to deal with me. There's no place
Yeah,
for you to take up arms and try to harm me. That is not your place.
stay in your lane.
Stay in your lane. There we go. stay,
Well,
stay in your
it's
lane.
interesting because when I mean, as a minister, when I think of God, I think of, the idea of energy. There
Mm,
is one thing in the universe, and we all live, move, and have our being in it.
right,
It's
right.
not, there isn't a man up there passing judgment on us. There's a divine presence that is in every single one of us.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter uh, how I was created absolutely perfect.
Right, right.
It's a divine design. You're a divine design.
Love that. Well, you know what, and it's some I've said to you, but it's worth saying here on your program that when I left Jamaica, I decided to leave religion as well, to leave church.
Yep.
I mean, there's been so much harm done,
Hmm.
and I guess in my attempt to deal with some of the trauma that I was carrying from church, I just decided to just cut off everything that had any mention of God. I
Yeah.
went extreme. I started calling myself an atheist for a
Yeah.
while. But then I recognized that there was a consciousness. Recognized there was a consciousness, and then a series of things started happening, which, of late I've been saying there are no coincidences.
It's
A
true.
series of things start happening and has forced me to come to the place to recognize that there is a divine being. There
Yeah.
is something greater
Yes.
than us here at play. But this divine being is not asking us to judge and to fight and to attack people because they are
No.
not recognizing his presence.
Yeah.
And so it's just a need to be reverent, to love. You know,
Yeah.
I think it was Ziggy Marley who has a song that "Love is my religion." I think it is,
Yeah.
and I think that sums it up.
It does. And it's interesting. Um, Two experiences I had, being the Reverend, um, was when I joined the board for Toronto People with AIDS Foundation, and I entered the room, and people are going, "Oh, Rev B," and I could feel a little distance from some folks going,
Here we
"Oh,
go.
we got a religious person here. I don't know about that." And that dissipated fairly quickly as people got to know me. But I think, unfortunately, the mainstream stream religion that is teaching hatred, separation, I'm better than you, I know what's right and you're doing something wrong. When I look at that type of stuff, the first thing I want to say to a Christian is, have you heard of Jesus the Christ? Most of them have. And I go, well, he taught only one thing, because he talked to the Samaritan at the well, which was unacceptable, right, at the time. But his teaching, which I think is what Christianity is supposed to be based on. I'm not a Christian, so, who
Right,
knows? But
right.
my understanding is that Christ, Jesus, the man, who became the Christ, which all of us have within us, if we want to go to that energy of the divine within, then if that's who we're following,
Mhm,
then we should only be loving to all life, period.
mhm,
That's
mhm,
my theory.
mhm.
And if we're not doing that, then we're the sinners.
Right, indeed, indeed. It is so simple yet so difficult. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
It seems to make it so difficult. Yeah.
It's fascinating because, when I look at, I'm going to have to get you on Spirit Cafe to have a talk about religion and being queer, because I think that in itself, because it's like we're butting our head against something that has nothing to do with this divine presence. We're butting our head against theology that was created by men to
Mhm,
control the masses.
mhm.
And, and it's working quite effectively in some areas. And it's time to
Yeah.
disrupt it, to
Yes,
flip
yes,
it
yes, yes,
and
yes,
go,
yes, yes.
we're all by divine design. And
Right.
so I loved a sign I saw years ago that said, if you want to stop seeing gay people around, then heterosexuals should stop having homosexual children.
How about that?
I thought it was pretty good. I liked it.
As if it's like the call is coming from inside the house. So y'all need to fix that.
You obviously are doing something wrong if that's
Boom.
but it or even to go to somebody and say, "So when did you choose to be a heterosexual?"
Yeah, yeah,
Right? Like that's a great question
yeah.
because
Like, at what point did you get to that crossroads, and make a decision? And why do you think? Then why do you think it's the same for others? Um, I I I often, because I have friends and I have family members who are
Mhm,
celebratory of me, and my life and my husband, and they love us. But
yeah,
then sometimes that the question even comes up about trans people, and sure
mhm,
they have questions, sure they don't understand, and somehow expect me to shed some light on it, which to a point I understand.
yeah,
And one of the things that, or what I always go to, is I say to them, like, I for years I've been told that what I was feeling was wrong. For
yeah,
years I've been told that this love that I have should not exist. And so, even though I don't understand trans in its fullness, I
mhm,
also give room to my brothers and sisters, and folk and other folk who tell me that this is how they feel in their body,
yeah,
and so I have to respect that, right? And so
yeah,
that is all they ask of you. It takes nothing, absolutely nothing, for us to use a proper pronoun, to use the name that somebody asked you to call them. It takes nothing out of us at all. It's
exactly.
just respect.
It is
Um,
respect.
I remember a friend even said to me, like, when the topic came up and I was being defensive of trans people, and they said, are you planning to be trans? Because I'm not gonna call you by. So I said to her, I'm like, if you get married, do you expect me to call you by your maiden name, or should I call you by your name that you asked me to call you? Well, okay. You say, so simple as that.
Simple
Just
as that.
respect. Just respect. Just
Here
call me the name I'm asking to be called. That's all.
and that's not a big ask. I did a show, I'll send you the link for it. I did a show, on December. I don't know what. No, we're just start getting into December. It was in November.
Right, right.
November 21st. Transgender awareness was the name of the show. It was an hour and a half program where I interviewed two trans people and the parent of someone, and just having a conversation, which really was beautiful because it very much normalized who they are. Just like we're not choosing to be gay, we're not choosing to be trans, right? I'm just me. Could we just take she, he, whatever off the table and go, I'm a human being. My name is Barbara. You're a human being. Your name is Albert. And let us just love and
Just
appreciate
live.
each other. Simple,
Just
right?
live. Just live. Even when you look on it too, like, we have these two. We have, for years, I've been told that they're just two genders. They're just two
And
genders. But
yeah,
at the same time, when you look on it and you look on the world, and you recognize
yeah,
that there are people, for instance, who identify as male, who present their masculinity in such a, let me use, for instance, you have the Rock Johnson, very masculine and all, hyper masculine, I call it. And then you have Prince, who also identifies as male, and both of them are men, but at the same time they are showing or representing their masculinity in such a diverse way,
yeah.
that you say, can you truly say that they're on the same end of the spectrum? No. So we have to recognize that people fall is a spectrum, and
There
people
is a
fall
spectrum.
along the way, and just honor them. Just honor them. Just come on, humans.
Well, that's it. I hear people talking about, oh, we need peace on earth, we need this, and then they fight with their neighbor.
All
Or we
right.
need peace on earth, and then they yell at you because, well, hey, how come you're queer and that's not right, that's wrong, that's a sin. I'm sorry. Peace doesn't happen
Right.
because I've judged somebody else as bad and wrong. Peace is something
Right.
I accept within myself. I love myself enough that I'm willing to love and accept you and go from there. I was working on the ACHO campaign, the African Caribbean Council on HIV/AIDS, years ago when we came up with the It Takes Courage. And I remember having conversations because we had ministers and imams and stuff come together to learn about HIV and what it is. And we were dealing with stigma because in these churches, and I remember a minister standing up early in the morning of that first day going, I don't have any of those people in my church. And
Okay.
those people. And I thought, wow. But here's what was cool. At the end of the day, that very same person stood up and said, I'd like to have AIDS Toronto come in and do a presentation with my congregation.
Okay.
So we're educating, we're and the work that you and I do and many others is we are creating. It's why I did the transgender awareness show. It's to educate, listen to what people are saying, take the time to learn what it is that they're going through, what their journey has been. All they want to do is be themselves. I only want to be myself. You just want to be yourself. How can that be wrong?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Sometimes the attacks come under the guise that they're trying to protect the children. They're trying to not, because children are going to get confused and all of that bull BS, right? I remember one of my dear friends from Jamaica when I came out. I'm actually godfather to her son, and she told me that when I came out and I got married, she spoke with him. She'll say, "Hey, I have something to tell you about Uncle Albert. He's gay. He got married to a man." And she said, her son said, "Okay." So you said, do you understand what that means?" And he said, "Yeah, Uncle Albert loves his husband, and they got married." And she's like,
Follow the
"Okay."
children. Follow the
She's like,
children. They know.
she's like, "Okay."
Yeah, it's not a big deal, right? It just, oh, okay, they love each other and they got married. That's what people who love each other do.
Thank you. I just because she said she was prepared to go into this conversation with him, but he
There is no,
instead was teaching her that you're
yeah.
making a bigger deal than this needs to be.
Well, and that's, and I love that you could be on the show today because, with it being World AIDS Day, and there are people I've talked to recently, and I'm talking like last week or the week before, going, well, isn't AIDS a thing of the past? Oh,
Mm,
we wish, we wish.
mm,
And,
mm.
I look at that and I'm like, okay, people are not dropping dead by the multitudes daily anymore, right? But the amount of medical care and treatment that people need as a result, just to maintain life, is, I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Right,
And I think we have to talk about it more. We have to go, wait a minute, it's not over. It's not done.
right, right, right.
Still, and yes, we have medication, very expensive
It's
medication.
very expensive. And
Yeah,
it's only subsidized for some people here in Ontario, so it's not fully covered. So people's lives are still being impacted.
of
Um,
course.
people, there's so much. I mean, there are laws also that target people who are living with HIV. Um, I I I'm not sure. I don't want to be wrong about this, but there was a recent case where a woman was charged um, for not disclosing her exposing her status to a sexual partner before, and then he reported her, and she got charged because, of course, it's still on the law books
But
that she
if you're medicated, and so you can't transmit if you're at, right?
no.
So they got to change the laws.
Definitely. Oh, definitely. And also there is no what's the term? I'm trying to go legal. Where
Yeah.
there is a his word against hers because she
Yeah.
said she disclosed. He's saying that she didn't,
Yeah.
and somehow the law leans more in his favor because, of course, she has HIV, so she's wearing the scarlet letter, right?
And
That
she's a
that
woman.
and she's a woman. She's a woman, you know.
And
So
we're
it
still considered a minority, even though we're the majority of the population.
come on, come on. There's so many layers
There
to
is.
it. I often say to my husband when we're talking about HIV and sponsorship and getting awareness out is that it's no longer the sexy virus. You know, it is no
Mm,
longer the virus because people are not dropping dead, as you said. It's no
yeah.
longer, oh, okay, they're just aging. They're just living longer lives now until the old, not recognizing that there are other issues that come up as a result of that.
Oh,
Because taking medication for your life into into senior living also affects your internal organs, right?
of
Because
course it does. Yeah.
they're working to break that down, and so it needs attention. It still needs the funding that was poured into it
Yeah.
because research needs to be done to get to a cure, right?
Exactly.
That like
Exactly.
we need people to be able to live fully happy lives without fear of being prosecuted because a
Mm,
sexual partner decides to be vindictive or because your family decides to take action against you, you know. I especially I mean Canada does afford some comforts for people who are living with HIV. I'm thinking of countries like Jamaica, countries where people the information is available, but
mhm.
people are not willing to either believe some of this information, and so it still carries this heavy stigma.
It
You know.
really does have a big stigma. We're going to go to a commercial break, and then when we come back, I'm going to talk a little bit about a vaccine that I
Ooh.
just found that's supposed to be coming out. So we'll be back in just a minute. My guest is Albert Williams, the incredible journalist, social activist, dynamic person that he is. And you're watching the New Thought Media Network. I'm Barbara Jean, and we'll be back shortly.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hepperlin Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Spiritual Center, Kitchener, Om Center for Spiritual Living, La Mesa, Satya Center, Center for Spiritual Living, North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and Center for Spiritual Living, Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for making New Thought Media Network a place to be. Please come be you. And remember, like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
Watch me change when you change the way you look at things. The things you look at change. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
And we're back with my incredible guest, Albert Williams. So, we've been talking about World AIDS Day. We're talking about the fact that AIDS still is a thing, HIV is still happening. But I'm doing a show tonight called The Good News. Yeah, and now the good news. And one of the stories I came across on the Good News Network, or goodnews.org, I think might be the name of it, was they were talking about this vaccine that has been created for people who do not have the virus, right? That hopefully is going to prevent HIV from anybody getting it. So that would be an interesting thing, but that doesn't change what's going on right now with people who are HIV positive, or even HIV negative.
Right, right. Probably even. I mean, and yeah, I am celebratory of this because
Yeah.
we finally seem to be turning the corner
Yeah.
on cases. But I wonder if this may push people living with HIV even more into the shadows. It'll be more like, okay, we're beyond HIV now, yay! All right, you guys, later let's focus on something else.
I-
You know.
Yeah, we can't go there. I'm really excited because I was contacted by ACHO, again, the African Caribbean. Sorry, I haven't slept in 3 days because my daughter
What?
had surgery, and so
Oh
my
no.
mind takes a lapse every now and again. But uh, ACHO is restarting the It Takes Courage campaign. And
Mm,
they contacted me to see if I wanted to still be involved. And of course, I do.
right,
Because I think, as an ally, that it's really important that we're standing together to
right,
do whatever we can to reduce the stigma.
right.
Yeah, I remember one of my congregants who was HIV positive, and we were sitting down chatting one day, and he cut his finger, and he said, "Stay away from me, stay away from me." And I went, "No, I
Right,
won't. Let me get you, some tape and gauze and whatever, and help you out here." But I think there's just been so much fear,
right,
and I understand. I mean, same thing with COVID. People were getting really, really fearful.
right,
But the reality is that it is here, and it is important that we not treat people less than
right,
because of
right.
their health status.
You know, Rev, when you say that, like I remember one of the earliest not call it issue, but one of the earliest experience I had around HIV/AIDS. A friend of mine, dear friend of mine, who we used to hang out, we used to go on weekends to the country in Jamaica, like we would do things together. Um, and he got really, really sick to the point he was in a hospital, and there was no true explanation at the time. But we didn't know what was happening. And visiting him, we learned that he was HIV positive and had advanced to AIDS, and now the advantageous other anti and ad, what's the word? The other viruses like meningitis and so on are setting now, and was really taking a toll on him. Eventually died.
Yeah,
But the impact of that, it caused me to do a lot of introspection because, of course,
yeah,
I'm like, what is it that he's hearing me say? What is it that I'm doing that would make him fearful of disclosing his status, so of sharing that with me
yeah,
as a really close friend. Sure, he's also at liberty not to share that information,
of course.
but it also forced me to say, okay, Albert, are you saying things that are harmful? Are you stigmatizing?
Yeah,
And so it really did force me to do a lot of introspection and make sure that my words and my deeds matched how I really felt or my values regarding people who society kicked to the side. That was one of the push to get involved in the work,
Yeah.
because in memory of my friend, in memory of just I often call it a missed opportunity to really show somebody that love, show somebody that care. And so I am trying to make up for that loss. And I say this to say to the listeners and people watching that we have to be very mindful of how we talk, of what we say, because people listen. People,
They do.
they are listening, and they may have experiences that they wish to share or they want to share with you, but because of that fear that they too will be casted in that light, that your words have casted similar people or people living with similar conditions, that they are fearful of sharing. So if we speak love, if we
Speak
speak
love.
if we stand in love, then
Yeah.
this it will be it's so simple, yet it's so, I don't know why we find it so hard. It's so simple, just to
So easy.
just be loving, just be appreciative of people and respect them on the level that they are human
Yeah.
and they're here. That's all that is required to really show them love and respect. you
I
know
think that for me is really the big thing, and the image we're seeing on the screen right now is the Toronto People with AIDS Foundation, which is where we both serve on the board of directors, and fabulous organization. So thank you, Deja, for putting that up. I think that this journey of separation that we're on, it's
Mhm,
like I have so much self hatred that what
mhm,
I do is I point my finger at everybody out here because I haven't been able to deal with my own wounds.
mm.
And I think
That's a word.
learn, as we learn to really love and appreciate ourselves, to heal the stories we have around shame and guilt and whatever, as we come to terms with who we are, the life that we've lived, and to recognize that we have been created. The thing that Bob the drag queen said is, "You are a perfect design.
Mm,
You are exceptional. You are not the exception."
mm.
And I love that. Like, if
Mm.
everybody just knew you are exceptional. I like
Just
to
one
tell
you.
people, yeah, I like to tell people you're unique and special, like everybody else.
Right, right.
It doesn't matter where you were raised or the color of your skin or the language you speak or the food you prefer or, the gender identity or who you're in love with. None of that has anything to do with anything. You are loved. Life loves you as you are because you were created by the creator. Absolutely perfect, whole, and complete.
Love that. Love that.
Changes the story,
Oh man, come on, man.
right? Like loving is easy. Hating takes work.
Takes so much. It takes so much effort, actually, and a lot of energy, wasted energy.
Wasted.
But as you rightfully said, though, that it really coming from inside.
It
So
is.
so a lot of times the people need to work on the issues that they're dealing with in order to
Yeah.
move forward. I mean, and this is just pulling out some of the stories because I remembering, um, and I'm remembering I in high school there was this. Of course, I was non-gender. I was called gay. I was called all sorts of different names before I even knew I was gay. Um, and I remember creating a story. I told a lie on another classmate of mine
Yeah.
who what the accusation was also that he was gay. And classic projection.
Yes.
Classic projection. And years later, when he and I had a conversation, we had a conversation about it. And he was so mature. And he said to me that he recognized it in the moment for what it was. He said
Yeah.
he actually was not upset with me. He didn't hate me for it. He said, sure, he felt hurt, but at
Yeah.
the same time, he recognized that it was an attempt for of me to protect myself, right?
Yeah.
Um, and
Protection.
and and so we realize that there's a lot of things that people put out that has nothing to do with you. It's their issue that they have to work through, and
Yeah.
the hope is that the world heals, that
Hmm.
people take the time to work on themselves and
Yeah.
and get rid of the heaviness that they feel that they have to put out so much hate and disgust into the earth,
I,
so
you're absolutely right, because I really think that that hatred that is being projected out, whether it's on drag queens or queer people or trans people or anybody for that matter, women, men, whoever you're choosing to hate on, it's coming from a self-loathing within oneself, or a shame, or something within ourselves. Like, I always say that it's hurt people who hurt people. The rest of us might accidentally touch a sore spot, but it's not because we're projecting hatred. I mean, we might use a term inappropriately. It's like somebody, I remember one day I was at a restaurant, this is a few years ago, and the person serving me, I don't know what their gender uh, pronouns were, or what their preference was. And, I said, oh, she forgot to do this, or she said, and as soon as I said she, I thought, I'm, I don't know that, right? And so
yeah.
it's reframing the way we speak and think, and finding ways to include, to bridge the gaps, and to not expect the people who are living in the marginalized areas to be the one educating us. Let us go out and educate ourselves.
Hmm.
There's books we can read, there's movies we can watch, there's lots of documentaries and things. There's a lot of information.
Hmm.
Just take the time.
Right, right. Just talk to people.
Talk to
Talk
people.
talk to people.
Oh
You
no, not
know,
that.
I've
Yeah,
seen the evolution of my parents over time. As you know, I just came back last night from Florida. Spent some time with my mom. It was the first time my husband was staying in our home.
yeah.
Um, some years ago when I came out to her, that in itself was a whole journey to the point where I got married. That in itself too it felt like a second coming out, and a lot of things. And to see her and how far she has come in terms of embracing
Mm.
him. My older sister, every time my mom does something that surprises her, she says, "Wow, our mother is growing up."
Well, and that's the thing, is we don't know what we don't know.
There
And
you go.
so we will
There you go.
sometimes step on toes, not because we mean to or that we're hateful. It's just we will use language, or we'll speak in a way because we don't yet know. And I love it when I can say to somebody, my preference is this. Like, some people will call me Barb, and I really have an aversion to that. But I'm not going to get mad at them. Lots of people with the name Barbara have it shortened to Barb. And I'm sure you've had that happen with Albert to
Yeah.
Al. That's not my preference. And so I will just say, I prefer Barbara. Um, and I'm not making somebody bad and wrong, but I am acknowledging my own preference. And I had somebody question me one time because I use she, they. And I chose not to, because of the way the question was phrased.
Okay.
It felt like, what are you doing? Kind of. And so
I
I
know
chose
that. I know that.
not, yeah, I chose not to respond to it. I thought, you know, it's my choice. This is my
Yeah.
choice,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I feel comfortable with, and it goes right into my spiritual beliefs and everything else, that really all of us are both masculine and feminine. Like, we have the masculine is the more, logical.
All right. Okay. Okay. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Feminine is more, the emotional,
Yeah.
but all of it,
Nurture. Right.
Yeah, all of it comes
Yeah.
together because
Make
all
us
of
a
it
whole.
matters.
Yeah.
And, so we may, show up more as feminine or more as masculine, but that's where gender is such an odd thing to have to.
The thing, right?
Yeah.
Right, right, right. Rev, it really, the onus is really on us. And I
Yeah.
mean, I have to give you your flowers. Love, I love to give you your flowers. But I have to give you your flowers because of not only the space that you've created where this conversation can be had, but
Yes.
also how you are living. And I think some, and I, well, I believe that our lives say more than our mouth, that
Yes, I
our
agree.
words.
Uh-oh. Oops, there you are. You're muted. I think you muted your phone. I can't hear you. No, it's still muted. Nope. Try now. No. Oh my goodness, that's the joy of technology is it's wonderful when it works and it's wonderful when it doesn't. And sometimes it just stops. No, no, no. Oh, and we were just getting good. No, I think we've been good all along. It's been wonderful. Well, you fiddle with that. And when I got, asked to join the Toronto People with AIDS Foundation board, for me it was a real honor to be asked to do that because the work is so important to me. And I remember when AIDS was an epidemic and, I'm a single woman, having relations sometimes, or you get a new boyfriend and I remember before I got married going, whoa, maybe we should go and get tested. And I think sometimes people don't realize the importance of doing that. Um, but it was a scary time in the 80s and 90s when that epidemic really got started. But it's still here. I think I can hear you now.
Yes, I can hear you too. Good.
Yay! Okay, what were you saying, my dear?
Right. No, I think I was well saying, your call came in on my phone here. That I appreciate how you've created a space to have this conversation. Some of the conversations may be difficult, may be uncomfortable,
Mhm.
but there are so many different paths that we all take, and sometimes hearing or seeing what a person been through gives us a
Yeah.
better understanding of who they are, and then we can truly celebrate them where
Yeah.
they are. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I see how you live. I see how you always talk about love, but at the same time, I feel love when I see your interaction with people. I see how you interface. Sometimes I watch you, like even when you're talking to me, or you just react or talking to somebody else, and it feels like it. And I'm sorry that I'm putting this on you, but it feels like a mother.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? That's the best way I can describe it right now. Like it feels like a mother, like mom, it may not be happy with what you're doing, but she still
Mhm.
loves you.
Yeah, absolutely.
She still loves you. She's like, I wouldn't do it that way, but if that's the way that you want to do it,
Yeah.
I still love you. My mom used, I remember when I used to, when I was living with mommy and I would go out as a teenager, she would always say, but I mean, if you can't be good, be careful. Right? It used to drive me crazy because sometimes I was really up to no good.
What, a
Right?
teenager up to no good? Oh my. I'm
I'm like,
surprised.
how did she know? How did she know? But
I tried to lie to my parents a few times, well, many times probably as a teenager. I got caught every single time. I realized that I'm not a good liar, so I have to just
but
behave differently.
but captured the inner statement of if you can't be good, be careful. It felt
Yeah,
like regardless,
I
I
love
love
you.
you. Regardless, I love you. So
Yeah,
please come home safe to me. Just make sure
I'm
that you're
homesick.
back home safe. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So I really do appreciate this. I take every encounter with you to do some introspection. I spend so much time checking myself. I've shared some stories with you of conversations I've had where I've
yeah.
had to walk away and say, Albert, Albert, we're going to have to do better.
I think all of us have those moments.
Yeah,
Like all of us, we're looking at decolonizing and eliminating anti-black, anti-indigenous racism, misogyny, things like that. And we've been programmed, and so we do things inadvertently
mm,
because we've always done it that way. And I remember during COVID going to a hotel. I was taking a 24-hour silent retreat,
okay.
and so I rented a hotel room so I could be alone. And when I went into the hotel, at that time, you'd have pens that, you could use that were clean. And once you used them, then you put them somewhere else so that, you
You can
weren't
clean
trying,
them up.
you
Mm-hmm.
had. And of course, and I didn't notice until after I did it, but the clean pens were in a white container.
Ho, 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 ho.
The dirty pens,
Don't tell me.
guess what the color of the container
Don't
was?
tell me.
It was a
Don't
black
tell me.
container. And so I put the pen in, and immediately I went, oh my gosh. Like immediately I knew that message. And I thought some people might look at that as, well, it's nothing. It's just a white
Yeah,
container, a black container.
yeah,
Who cares? I care.
yeah,
And I care that I did that.
yeah,
And I knew to do that. That's
yeah,
conditioning.
yeah, yeah.
And we have to change that.
Yeah, we have to. We have to. And that consciousness is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like those seeing those things and capturing them in the moment and recognizing what they are. And
Yeah.
I mean, not beating up on ourselves because we recognize that it's a function of society and that's how we were taught. But at
Yeah.
the same time, it's pushing back on it and saying, even though this is what I've been taught, I recognize now that it's not right.
It's
So,
not right.
so I have to correct it. I have to
Yeah.
make it right, you know? And there are times, I'll confess, there are times when I'm doing work, when I'm in my social justice fight, and
Yeah.
I feel sometimes very impotent. I feel like, okay, Albert, this seems bigger. But then I always come back to, you know what? I just have to do my part.
That's the key for every one of us. I just wrote in the chat, awareness is power. In the moment that you notice it, you forgive yourself for any mistake you've made, and then you correct it.
Right,
You
right.
don't beat yourself up. You don't,
No,
like yell at yourself for a month that you're an idiot because you did something. You go, whoa, I can do that better.
right.
And then you change how you're doing things, and that's how we evolve. That's how we arrive at a place of peace and love and
Mm,
caring and all of that, right? We have to learn. I mean, I was raised in a white city with
mhm.
white family with white neighbors. I never met a black person till I was like 20.
Ooh, wow.
It's and maybe that's why I never felt any, because I wasn't trained, because nobody was around to project that anger,
Okay, right, right,
because my
right.
father was racist, but just, you know, nobody who looked like you was sitting next door for him to
To
point his
direct
finger
that
at.
at, I get you, I get you. Okay.
Yeah, so it's like, but we're journeying along and we're learning, and as I read stories, um, when I read stories about life and how people respond and what they're doing, you know, I want to know more. And so
Mhm.
I'm always reading authors that help to explain some of the things that are going on. And so Inga's put in there about they, them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, that, and it's true, we don't understand necessarily why somebody doesn't want to be called, she or he. But the reality is there are some people who don't feel like they're one or the other.
Right.
And so they're both. So
Mm-hmm.
they, them, in my mind, is like, I was explaining it, I think, to my sister-in-law one day. It's like, we are both. We have
Mm-hmm.
feminine attributes,
Right.
male attributes. So to say that my pronouns are they, them is just honoring the fact that I actually experience my life in a way that honors actually both.
Right.
And so I don't just define as one or the other. I'm not sure if I'm helping Inga, but
I,
I
I,
don't
I,
know if you can say it any better, Albert.
I think you summed it up pretty well. That I sometimes explain it like it's a limitation of of language as well.
It
That
is.
because language really does have these two binaries, either male pronouns or female pronouns, and so if someone does not identify with either, they try to find a word that is in between, and
Yes.
they sometimes they them maybe the best. Surely it would not be appropriate because we can't it people, right? Or right,
No,
we
no.
it inanimate objects, right? So they them becomes the best substitute
Yeah,
at this time.
I
Maybe
like that.
English will evolve. Maybe English will evolve and eventually bring in a pronoun that is gender non-conforming. But
Yeah.
until then,
Until
we
then,
work with
we'll use this. Well, we're down to our last 2 minutes. And
it.
so I would like you to say one thing about whatever that you would love for our viewers to take away from this program today.
All right. Just to borrow from something that you always say um, that we just have to love. That's all that's ask of us, just to love each other, celebrate each other,
Yeah.
ensure that our words, ensure that our deeds, ensure that everything that we say and do to people is what we would want people to do to us also. It's things
Golden
so
rule.
the golden rule can't go wrong. Just to
Exactly.
ensure that love is our guiding compass in our actions, and one little by little we make this world a better space.
Yes, we
Better
will.
space.
And when I think of love, I think of oneness, not
Hmm.
an emotion, but the fact that we are all one. Love
Right,
is about acceptance and honoring and respect and kindness for ourselves and for others.
right.
Thank you for being here today. I love you so much.
Okay.
And I want to get you on Spirit Cafe, so we're going to talk about
All
that.
right, no worries, man.
And for all of you who are watching today, thank you so much for watching. Just remember, you are unique and special, fabulous and wonderful, just the way you were created. And be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and go out and do something beautiful for you because you are worth it. Much love. Till next time.
On behalf of everyone at New Thought Media Network, thank you for being a member of our virtual family. Your financial contributions help share the New Thought message with people from around the world. Please visit and contribute at www.ntmedia.org/donate. New Thought Media Network. Come be you. And please like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, peace and blessings.